A year again where the youngsters are going back to school. I must admit, growing up, I always dreaded that sort of last week or two before going back to school. So I imagine it can be stressful for the kids going back to school, young people going back to school, but for parents too, it can be a stressful time. And speaking from experience as well as a parent, our next guest is going to give us the rundown on how parents prepare as well. So Luisa Zissman, welcome to the show. Great to have you on board. Can you give us a bit of a rundown into what the research, what it suggests, what are some of the stresses and trials and tribulations of the back to school week?
Yeah, of course, Jimmy. So, the research has been conducted by Life 360, and it shows that over half of us, 54% of us parents, are feeling stressed about the start of the new school year. In comparison, 77% of us have admitted our kids they don't even want to think about the new term until the last possible moment. So there's a bit of a gap there in parents versus children. And also, I think that with going back to school and what the research has showed us is that there's lots of new experiences for kids, especially those in going into secondary school that might be walking to school for the first time or getting the bus for the first time. Some kids get the train to school, and that with that brings quite a bit of anxiety for parents with all of that change and that those new things that the kids are experiencing. And 40% of us are using alternative tech like location sharing apps, something like 360, which helps calm our stress and frustrations. So I think just what we're seeing here is a bit of a disjoint between the parents versus the kids. The kids are all quite sort of chilled about it, really, not even thinking about it, whereas the parents are trying to juggle perhaps multiple children, going to different schools, and the challenges that brings with that.
No, absolutely. I mean, you made some really good points there, to be fair, as well. I think it's sort of important. I mean, I'm sure some parents are probably going to welcome the kids going back to school too, but I think from an important perspective too, I mean, I remember sort of going to school, I'd walk a couple of miles to get to school, there'd be no real issues, but obviously the world that we know, I don't want to sort of sound like negative, but it has changed, and you know, whether it's the media or not, I don't know, but obviously, like you said before, I think a lot of parents would be worried about kids taking transport and other things as well. That would certainly be a worry of mine, really, and no matter how old the kids do get, you still worry no matter what. But can you give us a bit of a rundown? So some of the worries were obviously sort of like, you know, the kids making their way, the journey as well on their own. Is there anything else you can add to that list, Louise? And what are some of the things that we can do to help alleviate those worries, if it's all possible?
So I think, like top of the list was that parents really want peace of mind that their kids are okay. And what also came out of this, which made me laugh, Jimmy, is that a lot of the kids, 59% of our kids, just ignore us generally. They don't respond to our messages. They don't let us know where they are. You know, they're meant to be in one place. They don't turn up there. They decide to go to a friend's house instead of coming home. So I think that with that is what really plays into this sort of, you know, anxiety that some parents do feel, and using like these tech sharing apps just gives us that peace of mind. Also, another big thing that came out was adjusting the bedtimes and the wake up times to school. So I think we've all been enjoying these sort of leisurely mornings, and now it's that mad rush again of, you know, grabbing lunch from the fridge and where are your shoes, where's your blazer, where's your school bag type vibe, and all then rushing out the door to not be late for school. So that was another thing that came out, and just managing those busy, you know, work life, school life schedules as a parent. 13% of people said that using like this, you know, new tech like this location sharing technology helps manage those busy schedules. There was also some interesting things about the top 30 ways that our 11 to 17-year-olds frustrate us as parents. Top of the list, not surprisingly, was not tidying their bedroom. And I've literally just dashed into my kitchen now and seen my 14-year-old and said to her, you need to go and tidy your room before your friends come over later. then sat back down and read that, which is quite
interesting. Absolutely. I mean, the location sharing sounds like a good peace of mind. That said, I probably shouldn't say this just in case my kids do listen to the show. If location sharing was around when I was at school, it wouldn't have been good because I didn't go at times, so I would have been rumbled when I should have been at school. Going off and not that I suggest they should do it these days, but it is. I mean, that's a big thing for me. I think that location sharing would give a lot of people a lot of peace of mind, really, because like you said before, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's me sort of showing my age, a bit of a rant, but for some reason, they don't seem to text back, or when they do text back, it'll be, hours late or whatever, really. But where can people look into that location sharing? Because that's a good one for me. I think that's a sort of controllable thing we can do to give some peace of mind.
Yeah, and also, do you know what else it gives? It gives peace of mind without you having to nag your kids to say, where are you? You can literally quickly check the Life 360 app, know that they're where they say they are, or perhaps even if they're not where they say they are, you can see, oh, okay, they've just gone down the road to so-and-so house and they're actually safe and well. So I think that even when we are being ignored, and 59% of us are being ignored by our kids, we don't need to be those nagging helicopter parents, because we can rest assured that they are where they say they are. So if people do want to find out more, they can just head to life360.com, which will have everything that they need there to download the app and get the info on their kids that they need.
Absolutely. I think it's a great app, and it's sort of like you said there, it kind of gives some sort of peace of mind, that's for sure as well. And I suppose the other thing as well too, Louise, I think that's sort of the wisdom of being an adult, really. I think sometimes this is my experience, I speak anecdotally, the youngsters these days, they're quite good at technology and other things as well, but there could be that sort of naivety of the ways of the world, I'm afraid. And I don't want to sort of paint this sort of picture, because I think most people are decent people, and the things that sort of happen are in a small percentage, but it's a small percentage to many, really. To be fair, and you want to make sure that they're all good. I mean, you mentioned a couple of things as well in terms of sort of the routine as well. The routine can be a big thing. I think can take a while, and I suppose some young people and adults as well. The routine can be a challenge. And have you got any sort of insights that what can you do to sort of readjust to a new routine? If you've sort of been doing things on a leisurely type thing, and are there things we can sort of start to do, maybe building in a routine, maybe going to bed at a certain time a few days before going to school and getting up at that time? Or what's your take on things that we can do to get back into the swing of things?
Yeah, I think that definitely in the build-up, don't go hard in at 6 a.m. on the first day of term. Introduce some earlier mornings, in the next few days. Obviously, they're going back to school next week, and just be organised. So I, tend to do lunches in the fridge the night before, and everything by the door the night before. And also just encouraging independence in your children. So get them to do it with you. So the night before school, get them into the habit of making sure they know where their shoes are, having their bag ready with their homework in it, with everything that they need in it the night before. Then you haven't got this mad, stressful rush in the morning, especially when we're trying to get ourselves to work on time. And I think, again, it just encourages this independence that we so want our children to have. We want them to be independent to organise their own things. We want them to have the independence to be able to go out with their friends on their own. And so just having that in the back of our mind, what can we do to help them become independent individuals whilst sort of aiding them through that? And once you do things for, I think it's the 3-week rule with a routine. Once you do something for every day for 3 weeks, it then just does become second nature in a routine. So definitely being more organised. I mean, for me, I'm always I always think 10 minutes ahead of where I need to be. So if I need to be somewhere, out the door at 8:40, I'll be trying to get out the door at 8:30. Just small life adjustments like that can make us a lot less stressed as parents.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I suppose sort of maybe going off track a little bit, but the big one for me, sort of, going into high school, It's been a long time since I sort of went from primary to high school, but it can be daunting, for the young people, but also for the parents too. That sort of that it's a bit of a step up really from sort of primary school. What's your take on that, Louisa? What are some things that sort of going into high school, for parents? What can they do to maybe reassure their kids in terms of I mean, once you sort of get into high school, you're in the swing of things, but I think sort of the build-up can be quite anxious, I think.
Yeah, I think that build-up is definitely anxious, and especially if you're going to a school where perhaps if your friends aren't going to that same school, that can be a big thing. I know a couple of my friends their children have had a few wobbles about that, and actually what's been great is the kids, as they move into year 7 and they might have got phones this summer, have been connecting with other children that are going to that new school, which has been a great use of tech and mobile phones. And then if they are getting the school bus for the first time, having like a location sharing app on there, you'll know that they're on the bus because it shows them moving in a car, for instance. And then when they arrive at school, you can set like notifications, and it will say like, Jimmy has arrived at school, and you know that they're there and that they're safe, so you get that peace of mind. And also from the kids' point of view, if they're starting a new school and they're doing clubs or they're making friends, they do want that element of spontaneity where they can say, I'm going to go to Betty's house after school, and they don't always tell us these things, but so we can allow them that spontaneity while still knowing that they're okay. And it's just, I don't know. Yeah. I think that secondary school is such a big thing, isn't it? And you're right. Absolutely. Once you've been there for a few weeks, you do get the hang of things. But just small steps, and everyone's in the same boat as well. I think telling your kids that, you're not the only one that's going in there that's feeling like this. You're all feeling like it. So just that reassurance. Yeah,
no, absolutely. That's a really good point. I think that, everyone's in the sort of same boat, and they'll be feeling anxious as well. I must admit, when I was at school, Louise, and I was going to start secondary school, I took up some martial arts because I heard horror stories about what was going to happen. So I thought, I went to a tough school, to be fair, not like the school that with the greatest respect, my children have gone to and go to. It was a pretty tough school, and if anyone's sort of listening remembers it, school friends, but I thought I better get myself ready. Not that I'm advocating when listening, do the same, but you've given some sort of practical sort of tips, but I was ready for him, Louise. I thought if anyone sort of comes for me, I'm ready for it.
You were there. I remember those horror stories of heads being flushed down the toilet. It didn't happen, but the horror stories are there. And one of the things that stood out to me as well is in the top 30 of way kids frustrate us is forgetting their keys. And as a parent, having a key box outside your house with a key in it, so that you know that, okay, they've got home safely because you've managed to look at them on the location up and check that, but now they've forgotten their keys. So having a key box with a code, so that even if you're out and you're at work and they've walked home, you still know that they're going to be able to get in the house safely. Just making life easier, I think,
100%
is the key.
100%. I agree entirely. That's the big one, really, sort of getting in and making the sort of transition to the break to school as easy as possible. And before you know it, Louise, they're back in the swing of things. It's like they never had a break, and then you go again, and that's the cycle of life. But it's been great speaking to Louisa. Thanks for sharing some thoughts and insights, and wish you all the best. Thank you,
Jimmy. Thank you.